Lazy Fluency Podcast へようこそ。お互い英語と日本語を切り替えながらカジュアルな会話を通して皆さんと一緒に言語を学んでいきます。あやみです。
And I'm Joey.
そして今日のテーマは米騒動。その前にいいね、チャンネル登録、フォロー、また聞いているプラットフォームでレビューもお願いします。コーファイルのサポートもよろしく。それでは今日のテーマ、米騒動。
Recently, there has been a large shortage of rice, which has led to, I guess this is, you could translate komesodo, I guess is, would it be rice, no, riots wrong, controversy, maybe you could think of it, something like that.
何暴動みたいな感じじゃない騒動って。
Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to actually translate
Like
nice
riot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. It sounds a little intense. Obviously, there's been stuff like this happening in the United States as well, but there's been a lot of funny controversy regarding the specific rice shortage. And I just thought, the title, I don't know what I'm using for the title, but I think tentatively of something like why Japan is out of rice. And since Japan is like, as an Asian country and rice is so important, I just thought it was very funny. Amy, do you eat rice? We're talking about this whole rice thing. Are you a lover of rice?
それがさ、なんか別にラバーでもないんだよねっていうのが、最大のオチで、なんかよく言うじゃん。なんかね、周りでも、なんか例えば、ちょっと旅行ね、海外の旅行行ったりとかして、なんか、日本食が恋しいとか言う人いるじゃん。なんか、特に米が恋しいみたいな。
I do like Japanese rice.
なんか別に、そんな別にあれなんよね。しかも私ちょっと、なんて言うんだろう。米日本の米ってさ、白い白米がさ、まあ主流なのね。私白米より玄米のが好きなんよね。なんかパンとかでも、みんなまあ日本は食パンっていうのがあるんだけど、プレインのなんか、ニュートリシャスじゃないやつ。あれより全然なんていうの、普通のライが入ってるやつとか、そういう顆粒系っていうかね。なんかそういうのが好きで。だから、
I mean, I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, probably. But although there obviously are different types of rice depending on where you're, getting them in the world, one of the reasons Japan rice is, archetypically, white in the way it is actually because they remove a lot of the outer layer of the rice, like more than other countries do. And so if you didn't do that, which you can get from the supermarket, by the way, if you're wondering, you can get just like genmai with like the husk and it's brown. So that's not necessarily a specific characteristic of Japanese rice. But just to give some perspective, there has been, along with a shortage, you'd expect price increases, and there has been one. I'm looking at a chart. This is from, the more I looked into this, the more confusing this got into whether rice is truly rising or not. It's kind of like, for those American viewers, if you remember, there was discussions about how like the economy wasn't doing that bad, but everybody felt the economy was doing bad. There's a lot of that, and, I'm no rice expert, whatever that would even mean. But in terms of some prizes that I saw discussing the subject, I'm looking at 2024 and September, the 9th month. I always get confused in Japanese. I think it's September. We're looking at the rate of rice. I don't know for what amount, if I'm being honest, but some amount was going for 2,569 yen. And then this is 2025 February. It was going for 4,678 yen, which is almost a doubling in price. And it increased more and more. And I think around the time, like last week, there was a big event we're going to talk about, which is one of the reasons I want to talk about because I thought it was just so funny. But around that, like I think a week ago, it was around 5,000 for, is this like 3 kilos or 5 kilos? Some amount of...
なんかね、3、5、10かな。多分、なんかそんぐらいだった気がする。
Yeah.
売ってるその単位としてはね。
So, like I said, putting aside, it seems like rice is in reality increasing quite a lot. It seems very more complicated the more I looked into it. There was some arguments about, well, this is actually only a certain type of rice that some stores could buy, like from a specific market that's not necessarily the general public. So, but we're going to take it for granted that rice is the increased cost of rice is happening. There's a whole bunch of explanations as to why this may or may not be happening, and stuff I find interesting, especially comparing the reactions in America, to Americans for similar things. We had like our toilet paper or eggs or whatever, and I thought that was interesting. We were able to see how the Japanese public reacts. But I want to talk about the controversy, I guess. One of the controversies, which is was a minister of
農林水産省
Yeah, forest fisheries. What is it? And there's one more. And farming? Yeah, agriculture. Yeah.
水産、
It's like agriculture, forest and fisheries or something like that. He had a very controversial take. Everybody's, talking about, hey, this rice is getting too expensive. And his response was what? I mean, you can paraphrase it, but I have the direct quote is also there. So let's see.
買ったことがない、売るほどあるという発言があり、それで、
I don't know in what context he was being asked about this. It's just like, it's a very, I mean, it's hard to give, like, even if you...
これか。これで、今の自民党政権なんだけど、自民党の、なんかパーティーに出席した時の発言が、どうもこんにちは。私、実は総裁選で一度も石破茂と書いたことはございません。にもかかわらずですね、ご指名をいただきました。多分石破さんよりも最近は私の方がメディアで叩かれてるんじゃないかな。で、この後に、ある発言をするんですよ。それが、私も米は買ったことがありません。正直支援者がたくさん米をくださるんでね、ですね。まさに売るほどあります。私の家の食品庫にはと。で、これ多分なんだろうね。多分言わんとしてることは、なんか、
The vibe, I don't know. People are being nice and they're providing me with rice. Maybe there's a sense of gratitude.
だから支援していただいて、米をもらってるんですよ。だから、すごくたくさんあるんですよって言いたかったんだけど、でも今の、なんていうの、世間的な、状況とするとさ、今みんな米が足りない、高くて、なんか欲しいけど、ちょっと高いから買えないみたいな人が結構いる中で、こういう発言をすると、叩かれるよなっていう。
I mean, it's hard to directly compare with like goods in the US because I've never heard of a specific like bread surge in price. But eggs, for example, although eggs like have a much shorter shelf life than rice, but it would kind of be like the equivalent of saying, I've never bought eggs in my life because I just had people supply them to me. And it's like, well, why are you in charge? Like, why do you have such a high position to be managing this office? Yeah.
でも面白い。このさ、続きが、うちの嫁がいただいた米を広げて黒いやつを虫とかが入ってるんですから、そういうのをいつも家庭内精米した上で、コイン精米機にも出るというような作業をいたしております。ですから、精米できなければ玄米で売るということも今回は可能にしますので、今回は効果が期待できるんじゃないかと思いますと。で、これはなんか受けを狙って言ったらしいと。うん。
Oh, that was supposed to be,
なんだろうね。
I can see you. Well, it is true. We were talking about a second ago that the seimai, that term is like polishing the rice, which is we're just.
でもなんかこの発言でさ、なんかやめろっていうのもなんか違う気がする。なんか。
I think this is like there was something that happened. I think earlier this year, where a Chinese like TikTok celebrity, they're already famous. They have a whole bunch of wealth already, but they were like bragging about their wealth in like as part of their brand. And apparently like the Chinese government, I can't remember if they got a warning or I think they banned their account or something.
Okay.
And the reason for doing it was basically being like, regardless of regardless of what degree, like however you got your wealth, whether it's corrupt or not, whatever the situation is, this like all like publishing stuff like this will do is make people mad at the inequality in the given country, in this case China, but in this case this person's directly he's the minister of somebody who'd be managing that department.
これがさ、なんていうの、身内の中でのさ、その話だったらいいけど、それがさ、なんていうの、政治の中の重鎮たちっていうかさ、ニュースになるぐらいの、場所でやってしまったから、なんていうの、問題になったわけで、で、結局、なんか、インタビューかなんかで、今後の身体についてはどうですかみたいな。身体って、やめるとかやめないとか、なんかそういうのはどうなんですかって聞かれたときに、その本人は、やめるみたいな。いや、続けますよ、みたいな感じだったんだけど、でも結局、バッシングとかあったからかわかんないけど、変わったんだよね、その農林水産大臣が。
He officially resigned to Ishiba from the department. And now there's a new dude.
今、小泉進次郎だっけ
Well, we'll talk about what he'll do. And then, I mean, the name, as far as peace and love, like looking at any of them speak is like going to put you to sleep. It's not like compared to American politics, you know, you don't have the,
Yeah.
they don't have the, this is why I was like, I was like, yes, your news controversy. But let's talk about causes, assuming the rice shortage is happening. What perspective, what potential causes are affecting this? Because there was another, I don't know, like a lighter controversy in this, which I did not see in the United States. When the United States has had something like this, maybe we'll lead with them. I have a whole bunch of supposed reasons what could have affected the rice problem, or at least the perception is why people think the rice problem is increasing. I want to start with one that I saw generating what I would call nationalist sentiment in Japan. And it's kind of twofold. One, there's the period during the coronavirus where people were eating out a lot less, which meant that there was less demand from restaurants for rice. And that made the price of rice cheaper. And then it was falling right after that with the opening up of tourism again. And if anybody knows anything about Japan tourism numbers, year over year, they've been breaking the record for how many times Japan's ever historically had tourists. And the additional demand of people going to restaurants, which is like, I think we might be hitting 35 million this year. Like, I remember when 30 million was the barrier, but like we keep breaking a new barrier. That shock in restaurants or other goods, like I said, there's whether or not the actual price of bulk rice is increasing is kind of debate, but at least the perceived price in places you go shopping outside, from what I can tell, definitely is going up. And basically, in effect, because you have basically tourism equals increased prices, therefore you have the sentiment, rice is for Japan, why tourist bad. And I saw a lot of those sentiments when I was looking up this. I don't know if you've heard any discussions like that. I mean, I don't know if you've talked, any medical friends would be talking about the price of rice.
いや、でも、なんか、ちょっと話したんかな。なんか食堂で、いや、その病院に食堂があってさ、今までが、食堂のランチが370円かな、なんか忘れたけど、そんぐらいで、今390円なのね。だからちょっと値上がりしたよねっていう話で、まあ米とか物価高いからじゃないみたいな話はした。
Oh, you did?
うん、
Okay.
そう。
Okay.
今のご時世、物価が高いからねっていう。
Did they have any like idea or any idea in their head as to why that happened, or they just like I just heard that it was expensive?
What? 違う、でももともといくらっていうのは知ってて、で変わったのよ途中で。
Oh, okay.
そうだからそう値上げしてっていうので、うん。まあそうね。
I just thought it was interesting because in the U.S. I'm not even the U.S. Where we're great at finding minorities and blaming them and stuff. Like that's what we do. We're great at that.
なんだろう。でもさ、だってさ、日本食ってさ、米を使わないのはほぼほぼないじゃん。お寿司もそうだし、なんとか丼とかもそうだし。
Well, no, you know what? I have noticed. Now I think about it. Before this was even making the news, I noticed signs in because this wasn't just this year. This was also last year. Like in Okinawa, I've noticed as well where places stopped offering free okawari, which means like replacements for rice specifically. I've noticed it, as well as increases in rice menus, like the price of rice on menus. So I actually have seen it even before I was making the news. But okay, I want to go into other potential reasons this rice shortage is having, and I learned more about rice. So the weather, apparently, when it is very I think it was like too hot, it can affect the amount of rice being produced. And even though it looked like the amount of rice being produced was only slightly less, I think, than the previous year, just because demand increased so much that caused an issue. That one's not as interesting. I think it's more straightforward. But one I thought was interesting was related to, I don't know if this is because of, I think this is due to climate reasons. I'm not entirely sure why in terms of the science, how it works. But apparently the actual size of the rice grains was like larger than previous year's crop. And there's a whole thing on NHK about this.
ちっちゃくなったの?
No. So this is the other way around. Apparently the kernels from this year are larger by some percent compared to last year on average. And that means that with a lot of goods where the rice is whole, like senbei or stuff like that, it actually makes the packaging cost per amount of rice being distributed higher. If that makes any sense. Like if your kernel is larger or something,
あ、
and the
袋がでかくなるって
yeah, more
で
require
もお
more
かしくな
plastic.
いだってさ、あれ、キログラムでさ、売ってるわけだから
Well,
さ。
yeah, I'm just
Huh?
saying that, here you could see like this went into it, like the different kinds of rice, and rice that are larger getting classified as
あ、
a
古
certain
い、
amount.
古いか。古いしたわかんない。
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
中米、なると呼ばれたからですよ。
Yeah, it had to do with you can see a long hot season in summer.
まあ
Like it's very nuanced. I don't know how relevant that is. I just thought that was interesting.
まあ、
The actual
そうね
physics.
確かに。
We're blaming the rice at this point.
でもさ、お米、どうなんだろうお米とさ、小麦どっちがなくなったらさ、より困るかって言われたらどうなんだろうね。なんか。
I mean, for me personally, in Japan, like people don't eat bread. I had to go to this was today. I just wanted.
ブレッドっていうよりかはさ、麺は小麦やん。ね、ラーメンとかさ、あとうどんもそうだし、
Actually, good
お好
point.
み焼きもそうだし、ケーキもそうだし。
I'm just saying it's not called gomen, hirumen, and banmen. It's called gohan, hirugohan.
まあまあね。
and
だけどさ、米って米しかないけど、小麦ってさ、いろんなのに使えるわけじゃん。って考えたら小麦がないよりかはさ、米がない方がまだマシなんじゃないっていう勝手な、あれなんだけど。しかも、なんか、最近ニュースでさ、米が高いしかやってなくてさ、まあよく見て、なんていうの、それしかやってないから見るしかないんだけど、なんか、スーパーで米が高いから、ちょっと買えなくて、逆に、安い肉を買うっていう謎の行動。
Oh yeah, yeah. We haven't talked about the actual responses, but yeah, there have been yeah. As you described, you would assume. I mean, although there was some buyouts, like apparently there were another one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons apparently, but apparently there have been buyouts from certain companies as well. Banking on a rice shortage because they expected a lot more tourism to bring up the price. So basically to have more people going to restaurants, and that would increase the price of rice. So there were people who were buying out rice so they could sell it. I don't know if that affected total amount. Like I said, lots of theories. But the general public has also been stocking up on rice, very American. And I was actually surprised because during the pandemic, maybe were there stories of Japanese people buying up toilet paper or hand sanitizer, or maybe I missed them. I don't remember the time. Like in America, it was a whole thing. I'm not sure if you knew, but there was a guy who made like or national news. Maybe international. I don't know. Who basically bought up a whole bunch of hand sanitizer, and then got so much pressure from everybody like online that he's like, I'm sorry, and then ended up having to sell it. But do you remember any
なんかマ
behavior
ス
like
クとか
that?
もあったよね。マスクもさ、なんだっけ、コロナで、マスク事業を始めたけど、すぐになんかなくなって、結局、マスク事業を始めた多くの人たちがなんか、めっちゃ損するっていうとかさ、なんか聞いたことあるよ。
Yeah, I mean, I think there was that in the U.S. with buying N95 masks, like the specific, which is I was kind of cringy. I know I had some friends, I mean, whatever, but who like specifically bought the N95, and I remember hearing the news like there's a shortage of medical doctors not being able to N95 masks.
なんかあったね。なんかね。N95 ね、別に苦しくないんだけどさ、あれ普通に紐が痛いんだよね。紐がさ、2つあって、こことか普通に頭が締め付けられるから、なんかよく息苦しくなるよとか言われるんだけど、別に息苦しくはそんななくてね、普通に頭が痛くなる。
I mean, I mean, I don't want to go too much into a separate discussion, but from what I understand, whatever, this seems like it go into whole, like, I'm still not entirely sure where the consensus lied on whether, as far as I remember, and maybe you know the most recent data on this, because in Japan, I think in hospital you're still masked up, correct?
Yeah.
But I thought it was droplet transmitted, and then so technically speaking,
まあでも実際、
also what's it called? But then at the same time, I thought that it only mattered if your mask, like it would prevent spread if you had like a non-N95,
そう。
but if you have an N95, it can protect you from getting it, but like other ones won't. But I don't know if there was updated on that, because
なんかよく言われるのがさ、tuberculosis ってやってる
yeah. I mean, that
結
is-
核なんだけど、結核は、患者さんは普通のサージカルマスクなんだけど、周りの人、まあ、そのdoctors とかは N95 なのね。
Mhm.
だから、サージカルマスクは、prevents from, spreading the virus で、N95 は、まあ、どうなんだろうね。receive も prevent するけど、多分、出すのも prevent するけど、でもあれはちょっと、なんていうの、チュベキュローシスの人で、息するの苦しいから、その上で N95 するともっと苦しくなっちゃうからっていう意味なのかもしれない。
Mm-hmm. Bring us back to the rice conversation. Thank you for anybody who's wondering. It is kind of becoming relevant in the United States. It's a quick, I mean, whatever. That's too big of a side. We're having a lot of funding get pulled out of a bunch of different research, like, including the effects of like not what's called not long COVID, but other stuff regarding the pandemic. But anyway, back to rice. What do you call it? Rice controversy. Or I guess you gave your opinion a little bit on the your preference for rice. But in the case where someone cannot get Japanese rice, I'm still trying to figure out. There's some other reasons, but I think they seem slightly related from what I can see in terms of like what I was saying earlier.
どうなんだでもさ、中国とかって日本とさ、似たようなお米食べてんじゃないのかなどうなんだろうそうだよ。多分。
From what I understand, something else I want to mention.
いや、そうだよ。
So there is technically like enough supply of rice in general, from what I can tell, but there's a specific kind of rice that Japan doesn't want to become very popular, and that's imported rice, which has been having a huge uptick in people buying
あ
it.
れじゃ関税じゃん。タリフしてるじゃん。
Yeah. But even still, people are buying it just because domestic rice is getting more expensive, and given that rice is like the main
なん
crop.
か今、そういえば確かアメリカの米入れるとかなんとかでさ、トランプのなんか交渉して日本の関税をなんか、
Yeah, I heard about
日本に
that.
対して関税、車の関税上げないでくれみたいななんかさ、なんかいろいろやってるよね、確か。
Yep. This is like, yeah, rice is becoming a pretty big deal.
だか
And I
ら
find
ラ
it
イス
funny
でさ
that、
ライスカード出してるよね。This is rice. I'm gonna use this rice card みたいな。
Well, I find it interesting that you honestly don't like. You're probably one of the only. I'd have to think about it, but you might be the only like East Asian I know who doesn't eat rice every single meal, and that sounds like a crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
なんかね、
shout out
なんか
honestly if you're East Asian, you can even be like not 100% from Asia, like Asian American, Asian something else. I'm telling you, my Asian Korean. What do you call the Korean American friends? Every meal rice. Japanese American or Japanese friends, every meal rice. I don't know
なん
what
か
makes.
ね、私、なんていうのなんか別に好きじゃない理由としては、なんかね、ご飯食べた後ね、白い米ね。眠くなんだよね。なんかすごい、blood sugar、ロールコースターがすごくて、すんごい眠くなるの。
Yeah, white rice isn't necessarily. We've talked about this. I think maybe you mentioned it.
So-
But white rice is like the least healthy. And by white rice, like I said, it's all in the processing, from what I understand, or a large part of it is in the processing. You're basically like removing the most nutritious
そ
part
う
of the
そう
rice.
そう。でさ、ブラウンライス私好きなんだけど、なんかわかんないけどね、ブラウンライス自分でクックした時に、毎回めっちゃ下痢すんのね。めっちゃ下痢するから、なんか好きなんだけど食べれないの。ブラウンライスは。だから、じゃあもうなんかライス別にいいかなみたいな。で、そうね、最近なんかじゃあ何食べてんだろうなと思って、ヨーグルトとか。ヨーグルト。
Honestly, hold up. Good point. Maybe this can. I mean, not a chance. But I'm hoping maybe this be like, hey, we're low on rice. What other breakfast options can we bring in more? Because there's a thing. I love oatmeal.
オーミール、そうだね、
And
オーミール食べるな。
granola. And in Japan, when some of it is imported, which is cheaper, but like, oh my gosh, if you're buying, it's already expensive in the United States, but if you're buying like Japanese, I don't even know if they actually sell Japanese granola now I'm thinking about it.
グラノーラなんかね、
Almost all-
じゃああるんだけど、なんかね、結構砂糖まぶしてんだよね。なんかなんていうの、もっとプレインなさ、グラノーラ
Oh
が
yeah,
欲しい
yeah,
わけやん。
yeah.
ってなった場合にね、そういうオプションがないよね。
There was one deal and one shop honestly, if you're near something called, because I don't know if it's nationwide, but if you're in Japan and you like plain oatmeal, do you know how wide belk is? That like a
White milk.
belk? Isn't it?
あ、ベルクね。
What's in English? Is it belk?
Belk.
Yeah, if you're looking for a value deal, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they used to
Belk-
sell like a kilogram of oatmeal for 300 yen. I have no clue. Where all other
あ
oatmeal
とあ
would
れ、
be
業
like,
務用スーパーとか。業務用スーパーも安い。
yeah. But my point being, maybe we can convince, we got to do an ad to push people to eat,
いや、
oatmeal
いや
and
オー
granola.
トミールはね、
So we can get people to like, import more of that and then increase supply and then I'll just come
結
in.
構オートミールね、嫌いな人は嫌いで、なんでかっていうと、なんかちょっとパサパサしてんじゃん。で、みんなそのまま食べると思ってるから、なんか、ね、水わかんないけど、なんか入れたりして、なんかふっくらさせるじゃん。で、苦手な人も多いらしいよ。うん。
I mean, to me, it's very similar. Like, I think it's healthier. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's
だし
healthier.
ね。
I'm pretty sure
そう
it's
そう
healthier.
そう。全然お米よりいいよ。
But yeah, let us know what is your favorite kind of one, rice. There's a lot of different kinds, and also two, your favorite kind of like staple grain. 戻りました。
We're back.
今週、初めて日本だけじゃなくて、バーレスク自体が初めてなんだけど、を見に行きました。私やあいみの考えではなく、一人の友達がおすすめしたんだけど、今回
wouldn't go there alone.
今回はそのことについて話したかった。私、普通の欧米のバーレスクに行ったことないんだけど、これは日本のバーレスクなんだけど、それは普通のバーレスクどの違いがあるかちょっとわからないけど、あいみの最初の、印象というか、今、見て思っていることは何ですか？
Jesus, I didn't like it at all.
ちょっと多分その
I
前には
hate it. More like I hated it.
どういう感じだったんですか？
I don't know how to say like it was basically なんて言うんだろう how do you say like a sexual service for guys, I guess. They wear like a sexy kind of like lingerie, and then yeah, like it was so weird for me as a woman, and I really hated the concept of it, and I didn't know like where to look at, and I hated it.
衣装は全部なんていうの？そのスケスクの服装じゃなかった。
No, basically it was.
いや、ダンスによって違かったんだけど。
Yeah, but basically.
もちろんそういうのもあったんだけど、でもこのことについて話したかった。
Yeah.
どういう、なんかこのような場所は何のためにあるんですかと、誰のため？なんか思ったのが、あいみんが、性的だと言ってるけど、で、もちろんある程度性的な、なんていうの、雰囲気があったんだけど、その風俗と違うことなのが、なんていうの、胸を出したりすることはなかった。
No, it was there.
いや、
What are you talking about?
隠れていた。
No.
乳首見なかった。そういうこと。
I mean, basically, yeah, it was like a lingerie で。
そう。でも、なんていうの？なんかボーダーライン。
It was more of like showing than like キャバクラ。
そうなの？
Yeah,
でも
yeah. キャバクラは like they wear like a beautiful dress and then they talk to guys.
いや、でもキャバクラだと。
I'd rather go to キャバクラ。
でもキャバクラだとその1対1の関係があるじゃん。
Yeah.
で、なんか直接、私だと、バーレスクだとただの観客だから、なんか見てるだけなので、私にとってはそんなに、キャバクラと比べると、性的の意味によるかな。キャバクラだと、
They don't at least wear like a, how do you say, like a, like underwear kind of looking.
でも実際なんか、偽物の関係を作ろうとしているわけでもない。キャバクラだと、本当に自分の友達と恋人みたいな、演技をしている。
Not really, not really.
絶対そうだけど。
So I actually have this resident friends. I mean, like one experienced the Kabakura when she was in medical school, and one did host club. So like I know both of them, and they didn't make like a pseudo relationships, but they talked to guys, and also like for Kabakura, and then hosts for women, and then they didn't do like nisemono relationships. They are just there to be a talker
で、なんで女性な
listener.
の？なんで男性が女性のところに行く
Because
の？
they want to so guys want to talk to how do you say, like beautiful young women.
でもなんで男性じゃダメなの？
What?
なんで男性じゃないの？
Because they're how do you say, beautiful things was that, so like you wouldn't see 下手くそなart じゃん。
どういう、女性はアートとして、なんていう、紹介されているということなの？
No, it's the same for burlesque だし。
いや、そうだけど、アイミンはバーレスクは違うよと言ってる。
No, like, the way, how do you say, like, showing, 露出度は、a lot of showing は、そのバーレスクのが way, way, way more.
いや、それは分かってるけど、私が言ってるのが、その露出の問題じゃなくて、その、深い関係を作ろうとしているのが、キャバクラの方。
Of course, they actually
で、
talk.
私にとっては、それはもっとなんか風俗に近い。その一人一人の関係を、なんか
I just
作ろうとしている
didn't
から。
like the concept of like putting women as like a show to see. And I was so disgusted by that. Like looking at them and then like experience the moment that like they're there to show their bodies. Also, people are seeing their bodies, and then that was so disgusting.
でも、これキャバクラとバーレスクを、まあ、比較すると、バーレスクだと、その、まあ、おばあさんもいたり、まあ、子供もちろんいなかったんだけど、その、ほとんどのグループは、まあ、グループというか二人組、の場合は、女性が一人で男性も一人いたので、その、なんか両方の、セックスが見てたってこと。でも、なんかキャバクラだと、その女性がキャバクラのところに行くの。
Oh, yeah. Yeah, more like
何のため？
to talk to cute girls. I actually will
レズの人ってことですか？それとも、
like just cute girls.
女性がちょっとある程度レズじゃないとそれちょっとなんか
No.
なんか美的ななんか美術館みたいなもの、美しいな。
Yeah, they're going there. I don't know about hosts だけど、キャバクラ specifically girls go to キャバクラよ。
ちょっと待って。キャバクラは女性がまあほぼ男性の扱いをしているってことだよね。
Yeah, both actually. I don't know like if guys go to host clubs, but I know girls go to キャバクラ。
まあ多分この話でメインなのが男性の方かな。でもなんで例えば昨日のバーレスクはまあ全員女性が観客だった場合はあいみが感じている違和感は同じぐらいやばいの。
Yeah, I guess.
という
I didn't like how do you say, I wouldn't explain like in detail, but like there was one scene that they like try to be like a porn star. But yeah, I really hate it.
例えばアートの話に、まあ、なんていうのその前、まあ、なんか綺麗は、なんかわかんないけど、綺麗な女性と話したいから女性や男性はキャバクラに行くと言ったんだけど、例えばこれはバーレスクのショーじゃなくて、ただの、 そういう姿をしている女性は、なんか絵の中にいた場合は、あいみの考え方が変わるの。なんか、
What do you mean?
なんていうの
Drawing
そうそう
and
そういう
real drawing and real people are different.
いや、でもなんか、例えば、なんと言えばいいんだろうね。その、根本的に、こういうことはダメだと思っているか、それとも、個人的に、
Also, I think
その嫌な気持ちはどこから来ていると聞いている
like in Japanese culture, it's like like close to taboo to show, how do you say, like fashion, like it's getting westernized now, but like 10 years ago there were no girls who were showing their belly buttons, but like now it's kind of like more common for young women to wear, like, how do you say, like, you know,
Ozempic t-shirts.
yeah, Ozempic t-shirt like thing. But yeah, and then yeah, like in other countries, you will see how do you say, like, women with only tank top. そうとかだけど、it's not a common thing to wear that in Japan, I think. And yeah, I guess maybe it was just like Japanese people doing that was kind of
ショック。
shocking. Yeah, and it also didn't look right. I think if it was like, なんていうの?
欧
Like
米
サン
の、
バ、例えばさ、like Brazilian のサンバあるじゃん。リオの Carnival? I don't think that's, なんていうの? Sexual. Like, the way I felt yesterday.
まあ、つまり、あいみの、なんだったっけ、日本語だと、その潜在的、いや、無意識の偏見
でもない。
偏見はちょっとバイアスかな
Like, we don't wear like that on a daily basis, walking like on the street. So, yeah, I didn't like it. That's why I didn't like it.
もっと話す、このトピックをメインセクションで話したかもしれないけど、まあ、バーレスクについてもっとなんか悔しい人がいたらわかんない。詳しいなんかアメリカ、欧米の、まあ、歴史かなわかんない。自分の意見、なんかバーレスクについての意見をぜひ教えてください。And we're back with the final section. And if you've made to the final section, that means you just send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com with a comment, question, language related, and or otherwise. And this week we have a comment from Dan, who I believe is a new commenter, and goes as follows. This was regarding our episode, one of our episodes in Okinawa. I cannot actually remember. Oh, yeah, the Blue Zone. And we mentioned the fact that Okinawa has the lowest minimum wage out of all Japan. And he said, I was under the impression that Okinawa was faking it due to being the poorest province in Japan and that people were trying to fraudulently claim their parents' pension. Also that it's a place that rich old Japanese people move to for a holiday home/retirement area. Let me be more clear. This was related to like Okinawa having the longest life expectancy. So he's basically saying that he thought the reason for that was because people were trying to, it's that they're poor and they were trying to live off their parents' nenkin, their pension, so they can keep getting money in even though their parents died, which is something that has happened. Have you heard this criticism before against Okinawa? I don't know how much this might have affected, if this was talked about in terms of the controversy. I could see this being a thing to some degree, but from what I can tell in terms of the research I saw relating to like blue zones in general, not just Okinawa specifically, with a lot of these places, there was a verification of age problem. But I could see to some degree people like not reporting the death of their parents and living off their nenkin also being a possibility.
沖縄と年金何が関係あるのこれ？
he's saying, remember with the blue zones, like Okinawa, what's a blue zone? A place where people are living over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And so he's saying he thought the reason Okinawa was there was because Okinawa is one of the poorest provinces. Remember, like has one of the lowest minimum wages. It's also one of the most expensive, housing in Japan because of rich, as he mentions, rich Japanese people moving there. So he's saying one of the reasons he thought maybe might have been contributing factor is that people would go, "Oh, my parents died. They're on Nenkin. I don't have any money. Like if I'm going to survive in here, I need the money coming from the Nenkin. So I'm just going to not report that they died, and I'm going to continue getting their pension," which has happened. I've seen cases of that. On this podcast, we've actually talked about. I think I don't remember what context, but I remember talking about that before. Have you heard about this Imbolron?
聞いたことはないけど、まあでもrich the old Japanese people move to it's a place that rich old Japanese people move to for holiday home and retirement area は、まあ some people はしてるのかな。なんだっけ、前沖縄来た時にココナッツ売ってるお店、ココナッツといろいろジュースみたいな売ってるレストラン的な感じのショップの人がさ、その人確か関東出身で沖縄にちょっとなんていうのリタイアメントなのかな、ちょっとまあでもあの人50か60歳ぐらいだったけど、まあちょっとサラリーマン辞めてこっち来たみたいな。だからそういう人はいると思う。
I don't know where they'd be living though. I'm trying to think.
They moved to.
No, but would they be living like beachside or were they living like central Naha?
いや、あそこは、なんていうの、中部あたりだから、まあ、都会ではないけど、ビーチは近いかな。便は悪い。
Because yeah, to me, that would be like the main thing is you want like a beach place, but like
そう。
Okinawa is just like quadrillion times more inconvenient when you're compared to Tokyo. Like if you're living, I just can't imagine, like I know it's true. I know there is like the housing expensive and that means there's demand to some degree. And so I know that there's probably a good amount of people who are wealthy coming from Tokyo, maybe getting some sort of expensive beach house. But to me, I just can't imagine that trading that off, especially in retirement where like, you're older and like you probably care about having good access to hospitals and other facilities.
リタイアするんだったら別に弁とか考えないで、私は自分がね、好きな、なんていうの、景色とかいいところに住みたいから、例えばグアムじゃない、ハワイのさ、ハワイじゃなくて、ハワイ島じゃなくて、どっちだっけ？ハワイ島とオアフ島、あんま人がいない方、自然がいっぱいな方とか、便が悪くても行きたいなとは思う。
This isn't ikitai though. We're talking about
住みたい。
We're talking about retiring here.
だから住みたいってこと。
Yeah, I just can't imagine like I'd want like I'm just saying.
だってどうせ、
here's how I see it. At my age now, being very fit, running, I find the inconveniences I have to deal with car-centric infrastructure infuriating and extremely annoying. And that's when I'm a very capable, like able body. Most I don't know, most people, whatever. But
だからさ、そういうとこに住んでさ、it's like forcing yourself to be more active and then live longer.
That's why I was in America. I'm like, man, everybody you just see in the street in America is just so fit because everybody just running to all the store. Oh wait, no, they're in their cars. They're in their cars.
ってなれば、だから全部さ、例えばさ、アメリカってさ、ニューヨークとかは便利だから別としてさ、違う普通の田舎とかさ、そういうとこに行って、まあ、車をなくしたらさ、みんなさ、何かしらの方法で、まあ、行かないといけないじゃん。で、まあ、バイクとかでやったり。
Hold on, they don't lose why do they lose their car? What is this hypothetical?
じゃあ、ハイポセルコに普通になくしといて、じゃあ、じゃあ1キロか2キロ先にスーパーがありますと。そしたら、みんなさ、歩きか走るかバイクかとか、まあバスでもいいけどさ、しか行かないわけだからみんな、まあ、あれだよね、フィットになるよねっていう話。
I like where your head's at. I'm not hating on the idea. I'm just saying I don't think if this person exists, it's maybe one person, at least not in America. When you're in a rural, like there's a lot of people who leave like even outside the city that live city in quotations in Idaho, and it would take them, I think, like 30 or 40 minutes to drive in. And if you're wondering, is that 1 or 2 kilometers? No, it's like, what is it, like 50 miles, which is like 100 kilometers.
Miles?
Yeah, it's like 120
God.
kilometers. So you're not. My point is, you're not biking.
50.
No, 50. It's 100 kilometers plus
Wait, to get to
the nearest anything.
nearest
And-
supermarket?
And anything.
How?
Welcome to America.
待って。Are you saying, Nani? The nearest supermarket is 100 kilometers away.
I'm saying yes. I'm saying
いや、
they,
嘘つけ嘘つけ
I can show you. I'm saying they
嘘つけ
live outside the boundary
Yeah.
of the
No,
town.
I'm asking you. You're
Oh
near
no, not me. But I'm not living in the. Hold up, I'm not doing this hypothetical Okinawa trip. I was just talking about. You were saying this hypothetical. I want to live out in the out in the nature, but
っていう
inconvenience
か
doesn't
違う
matter.
もん。At that point, I would just grow like vegetables in my house.
That's a lot of
to
work.
be independent.
I'll just tell you that's a lot of work. That is.
That's
and
not a lot of work compared to like traveling 100 kilometers every day.
Oh, Americans, send in your messages about your morning commute. So, who's the longest morning commute? I mean, I'm assuming people listen to this while they're commuting or running. Yeah, just if you don't go that's too long, and you always start Joey up on this car tangent, it'll go on forever. But yeah, thank you for the comment. Also, actually, just curious, would this retirement idea, convenience or ideal scenery? If anybody has any thoughts on this, I would love to hear them. I cannot agree with Amy on this one, but yeah, let us know. That bell means we reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us, another lazy conversation towards fluency. If you have any language-related questions and are just looking for general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com and we might respond in the next episode. Also, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi to get video updates, Discord access, and which is lend a hand. And finally, make sure to check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey, signing off.
じゃあねー。
We got our mics back, by the way, if you thought the audio quality changed.
Forgot about that.